The Outer Limits. This classic of science fiction television was like the Twilight Zone's weird little brother. See what I mean? The Outer Limits were, on the whole, darker, pulpier, and stranger than the Twilight Zone. It took greater risks in visualizing the world of the strange and impossible, and sometimes these risks paid off.
I expected it to kill me, but it looked into my eyes, and I heard myself say, "Can you help?" And it said, "Can I not?"
Other times, the results were, well, let's say more Roger Corman than Harlan Ellison. I would say that the Outer Limits achieved greater highs than the Twilight Zone, but also sunk to deeper lows. The frequency of the Outer Limits quality was like the waveform in its opening. But whether the quality was high or low, it was always a very weird show. And this weirdness extended to the Outer Limits spin-off products. Case in point, the Outer Limits 1964 trading cards, properly called Monsters from Outer Limits, note the lack of a "the." Monsters from Outer Limits may very well be the strangest set of trading cards ever printed. What makes these cards so strange? Well, just for starters, it was published by a company called Bubbles Inc. Never heard of them? Bubbles Inc. was a subsidiary of Topps, and I bet you've probably heard of them. They started producing baseball cards in 1951 and haven't stopped since. But back in 1962, Topps wanted to expand into other kinds of trading cards and created the ultra-violent, extremely memorable Mars Attacks trading card set. I've got to do a video on the set one day. Mars Attacks was a huge hit with kids, but moms, of course, hated them. And so 2 years later, when the license for the Outer Limits fell into Topps' lap, they created Bubbles Inc. so that they could reap profits without having to worry about mothers seeing them as anything other than the wholesome baseball card people. And so an entire quasi-company was created just to sell a single set of trading cards. But that wasn't the only weird thing about Monsters from Outer Limits. Another peculiarity will probably fly under your radar if you aren't up on your trading card knowledge. They have black borders. Compare a Mars Attacks card to a Monsters from Outer Limits card. See the difference in the borders? Now, why is having black borders a big deal? Because when a trading card has black borders, every little scratch and scuff stands out more than it would if the card had white borders. This means there's a greater variance in the condition of Monsters from Outer Limits cards compared to other series like Mars Attacks. And didn't I say something earlier about the Outer Limits television show having a large variance in episode quality? Weird how that carried over to their trading cards. Anyway, the point is that there are fewer Monsters from Outer Limits cards in good condition compared to other sets, meaning the ones that are in good condition can fetch a decent price. Today, the quality of vintage trading cards is graded by the PSA score, the Professional Sports Authenticator score. That it's the Professional Sports Authenticator score and not the Professional Cards Authenticator score goes to show how much sports dominate the world of trading cards. PSA scores range from PSA 1, which means a card with holes punched in it, to PSA 10, which means it looks fresh as the day it came out of its pack. A full set of 50 cards graded at PSA 5 can go for around $2,000. Not bad for cards that retailed at a nickel a pack and came with a stick of bubble gum. The set's third and final point of weirdness will be what'll take up the rest of this video. You see, the monsters in the Monsters from Outer Limits set aren't actually monsters from the Outer Limits TV show. Let me explain. Topps put Len Brown, pictured here, in charge of writing Monsters from Outer Limits. Len was the writer of the Mars Attacks cards, and Topps figured he was the perfect man to write another sci-fi set. There was just one problem. Topps had the rights to the images of the monsters, but not their stories. The stories of the Outer Limits had a variety of sources. Some of them were written for the show, but others were adapted from previously published pulp stories, and it made the matter of writing the cards tricky. Len Brown was forced to make up new stories and new identities for the monsters. Imagine if you never knew who Superman and Batman were, and someone showed you pictures of them, and you had to invent names and powers and stories for these odd-looking chaps. That's what Len Brown had to do. His results? Some were hits, others were misses, but all were weird. In other words, the results were very Outer Limits, even if the monsters were technically never from the Outer Limits. Card number 1. The Television Terror. Inadvertently created by the test of the world's first three-dimensional television, the television terror materializes in front of an audience before his creator destroys him by turning off the TV. I swear I've heard this story before. There was a horror comic where an alien invasion through television gets foiled by someone turning the TV off. I'm not sure if it was an EC comic or an early Marvel comic, but I swear on a stack of Bibles I've seen this story before in a comic. Anyway, the television terror is derived from the titular alien from the first episode of The Outer Limits, the Galaxy Being. The Galaxy Being is a being of electromagnetic energy from the Andromeda Galaxy, a sensitive, curious soul who strikes up a friendship with an Earth scientist after they contact each other through what the Earth scientist describes as three-dimensional televisions.
Look, see, that's a three-dimensional TV scanner. It's the same as conventional television, except it shows the image in 3 dimensions. Height, width, depth. That shows the sound you just heard in 3 dimensions.
So as you can see, the card series took the three-dimensional television concept from the show. Len Brown was flirting with danger when he was writing this one. Returning to the Galaxy Being, the Earth scientist and the Galaxy Being are both operating their transmitters in secret. The Earth scientist is using power from a radio station, and the Galaxy Being is violating his planet's ban on contacting humanity because they've deemed humanity an inherently dangerous species. They're a pair of interstellar radio pirates. They're cute. But disaster strikes when the radio station's DJ boosts the power, causing the Galaxy Being to materialize on Earth, just like the television terror. And just like the television terror, the Galaxy Being is a threat to humanity, but not because he's a monster. The Galaxy Being passively radiates energy, and while on his planet of energy beings this is no big deal, on Earth it is. It reminds me a little of Action Comics 124, The Superman of Doom. In that story, Superman gets radiated by a nuclear explosion and develops a death aura, so he has to figure out ways of fighting crime while remaining far away from people. The radiation wore off for Superman over time, but not for the poor Galaxy Being. After the Galaxy Being accidentally kills a human, he's hunted by the townsfolk, which puts their own lives in danger. To prevent people from harming themselves, the Galaxy Being allows himself to dissolve, transmitting himself up through the universe and into an unknown, hopefully kinder world, a scientist bravely confronting the unknown. That concludes the story of the Galaxy Being, but let me raise one last question. Why does the television terror have pupils? I can't find the reason why. I think the art here may be an early production drawing, and if that's the case, the Galaxy Being's pupils were removed before filming, likely to make him look less like an evil, grumpy Muppet, in keeping with his personality as an enlightened, self-sacrificing energy being. Card number 2. The Radioactive Man. Radio-active man. That's how you know you're dealing with vintage science fiction. Props to Len Brown. His Radioactive Man predates the Marvel version by a whole year. This Radioactive Man isn't far from a superhero origin story. After being exposed to radioactivity, his IQ jumps 50 points, he emits radioactivity, and his skin hardens to a rocky substance. He's like a shrimpier, smarter thing. He lives on an island by himself until the radioactivity wears off. Darn. Here's where I would talk about Action Comics 124, but I already talked about it for the Galaxy Being. I hope the Radioactive Man kept his rocky skin. He could change his name to the Half-Life Man and start a crime-fighting career. The radioactive man is derived from the alien from the episode The Bolero Shield. The alien doesn't have a name, but in fan circles it's often called the Bifrost alien, because the laser beam weapon that accidentally brings him to Earth is called the Bifrost. The Bifrost alien, like the galaxy being, is a benevolent alien explorer.
Can you read my mind? Even through your shield?
No, I cannot read your mind. I cannot even understand your language. I analyze your eyes. In all the universes, in all the unities beyond the universes, all who have eyes that speak, and all speak the same language.
I think that might be my favorite exchange in the entire show. Anyway, the Bifrost alien is equipped with a powerful force field, which protects him from dangers outside his home, a place he describes as above the ceiling of Earth's universe, a place that gathers and amplifies sources of light, including light from the stars of our universe. That's right, he's an energy being like the galaxy being. But the Bifrost alien isn't so energized that he can't be killed, and the ambitious wife of a scientist kills him to get her hands on the force field, which she thinks can be mass-produced and sold as a weapon. But the scientist's wife makes a big mistake. She forgot to ask the Bifrost alien how to turn the shield off, and after demonstrating the shield, she begins to suffocate within the shield, now an airtight trap. But the Bifrost alien has just enough life left in him to save her in an act of pure mercy, using his own blood, the main ingredient of the shield, to breach the shield and rescue her. The Bifrost alien is a good creature. He would totally have helped the radioactive man if they ever met. Now, that concludes card number 2, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention an interesting factoid about the Bifrost alien. Are you familiar with greys? The common pop culture aliens with huge wraparound eyes? It's commonly agreed that they stem from the real-life abduction narrative of Betty and Barney Hill. Betty and Barney claimed they were abducted by aliens, and the images you see are sketches they made of their abductors. Do they look familiar? It's a common theory that the Hills were inspired by the Bolero Shield, which aired only a few days before they were abducted. If the theory holds true, then all the mischievous, violent greys in pop culture owe their existence to a pure soul, a flawless being of light, whose only mistake was that he trusted humans too much. Interesting, is it not? Hey look, it's Dr. Manhattan. The transparent creature is a being created when a scientist attempts to bring his friend back from an untimely demise by blasting the body with electricity. The creature, be it the man's ghost, spirit, soul, Juno, holy guardian angel, demon, or what have you, warns the scientist not to meddle in the affairs of psychopomps. And that is the story of the transparent creature, who doesn't seem all that transparent to me. It doesn't look like his skin is transparent. It looks like he doesn't have skin. Though come to think of it, something that doesn't exist is transparent, isn't it? Anyway, I like this story, but only as the start to another one. Picture this. The scientist shocks the body, the transparent creature appears, but then the body starts moving and talking. What would that mean? If the man's soul is outside his body, what's inside it? I might have to make that an Ernst, Morton, and Glass story one day. The transparent creature is derived from Mr. Zeno, a shape-shifting alien from the episode The Special One. Mr. Zeno hails from the planet Xenon, Zetus Lapetus, and he's come to Earth to corrupt kid genius Kenny Benjamin and turn him against the human race. Mr. Zeno wants Kenny to help him create a device that will fundamentally change the atmosphere into one that Xenon's like, and humans can't survive in. But surprise, Kenny isn't actually a traitor. He just pretended to be one so he could get close enough to Mr. Zeno to steal the atmosphere device and use it to change the atmosphere into one poisonous to his kind, and this change is represented by feathers. Remember, the Outer Limits is about highs and lows, and the feather machine is a low. We arrive at our first series in the set. It won't be the last. Card number 4 Terror from Space tells us that an alien explorer's starship has to stop for emergency repairs on our backwater planet. That seems to happen a lot in science fiction. Just what is it that makes aliens crash land on Earth? My money is on Earth magic. Aliens evolved on worlds without magic and so aren't protected by the enchantments and wards that man long forgot he was blessed by during the age of wizard kings. When alien technology hits the atmosphere, latent curses spring into action and jinx their instruments. Card number 5, the man from Galaxy X, reveals that the alien goes exploring and finds human society. What's more, the alien is rather impressed with how harmonious and peaceful human society is. But plot twist, he wasn't looking at humans at all. He was looking at an ant colony. One has to wonder what sort of alien psychology would lead the man from Galaxy X to overlook not only mankind, but animals in his exploration of the planet. How did the dude miss fish? They're like half of all vertebrates. The man from Galaxy X is derived from the Thetan invader from the episode The Architects of Fear. But to be more precise, the man from Galaxy X is derived from poor Dr. Alan Layton, a brilliant scientist who sacrificed himself and a future with his young wife Yvette, all to roll the dice on a desperate plan to unite humanity. Dr. Layton belongs to a cabal of scientists who believe that the only way to prevent World War III from breaking out is to unite the world through a fake alien invasion. They create a fake spaceship, a fake laser beam, and to make a fake alien, they surgically modify Dr. Layton into a monster. Yeah, this is the Outer Limits episode that gave Alan Moore the idea for the Ozymandias plot in Watchmen. But what I find even more interesting is that this was the one Outer Limits episode to be censored. Many stations back in 1962 cut scenes in which Alan in Thetan mode were shown, believing that they were too frightening for viewers. And I get it. While the monster may not seem too frightening at first glance, the context around it makes it so much worse. The episode is a complete punch to the gut. Most of the episode is dedicated to Alan slowly falling to pieces mentally and physically as he slowly transformed into a monster. The horror isn't in the monster, it's in the fact that a man became this monster.
Can you hear me? It's blasting. Sorry, Alan, is that better? All right, you can answer us. You're hooked into the voice box. It'll make the sound for you. Come on, Alan. Keep at it. Imagine how it felt to speak.
Odd sensation to speak with nothing moving.
You're doing fine.
Cards number 6 through 8. The Jellyman. Card number 6, the Jelly Creature, reveals that a bizarre slime monster has been sighted moving from Louisiana to Georgia and gradually growing in power and mass as he absorbs living beings. Yeah, Len Brown probably saw the Blob. You should too, it's a Steve McQueen classic. The destination of the Jellyman is unknown, but I bet he's heading to Florida to have a fight with the Man-Thing in Citrusville. Hey, it wouldn't be the weirdest thing Man-Thing's gone up against. After Steve Gerber sends you to the nexus of all realities, a wrestling match with a slime monster is kind of pedestrian, to be honest. Card number 7, the Unstoppable One, reveals that the National Guard has been deployed to fight the Jellyman, and that they've had about as much luck as the JSDF in a Godzilla film. The Jellyman even absorbs a tank. Whoa, I can't say the Blob ever did that. Card number 8, Jellyman Attacks, reveals the end of the Jellyman. Scientists figure out that he's weak to cold temperatures and lure him into a freezer. Yeah, Len Brown really did see the Blob, didn't he? Frozen jelly pops for everyone, I guess. I bet they taste like cough syrup. The Jellyman is derived from the chromoid, from the episode The Mice. In the episode, mankind establishes radio contact with aliens from a distant galaxy. As humans and chromoids have both been working on teleportation technology, they arrange a cultural and scientific exchange, a human scientist for a chromoid scientist, But before they send scientists through, they're going to send in someone disposable as a test. Hence the title of the episode. It's about the test mice for the teleporter. Mankind's mouse is Lifer Chico Rivera, and mankind is told that the chromoid mouse is a similar prisoner in their culture, but the aliens are lying. They actually sent through a scientist to conduct experiments on our water supply. They want to stealthily set up farms in our lakes, not because they want to invade, but because they're afraid we'd kick them out. Normally, it's mankind that bumbles first contact scenarios. It's refreshing to see a story where the reverse is true.
You should have asked.
Card number 9, the Fangs of Death. Card number 9 is probably the weakest card in the whole set. There's a creepy old mansion. Someone places an anonymous phone call to the cops. The owner of the mansion turns out to be a vampire. That's it. That's all there is. Did the monster art really look like a vampire? I don't see fangs, I see insect pinchers, and while vampires are known for taking all kinds of weird animalistic shapeshifter forms, I can't recall a vampire with insect pinchers instead of fangs. Besides this vampire, of course. Count Fangs, or whatever you want to call him, is derived from the alien Abel from the episode The Children of Spider County. Abel is an alien with psychic powers who fathered several sons with various women of Spider County. All inherited his psychic powers, but all were treated as misfits because of their strange powers. And so Abel returns to Earth to take his sons back with him to the stars, most notably troubled James Dean-esque Ethan Wexler, who Abel frees from police custody after Ethan is blamed for a murder he didn't commit. But Ethan dislikes how willing his father is to kill humans in his way, and what's more, he has a crush on the local farm girl, so he rejects his father, turns the other children to his side, and forces his father to leave Earth.
I cannot destroy the better part of myself, the dream part. He is the better part of you, too. Can you destroy the better part of yourselves?
Cards number 10 through 11. The Man from Tomorrow. Card number 10, Visit from the Future, reveals that a man is broadcasting from the year 3000 on every television, so rustics living with only a radio just have to deal with missing out on the greatest event in human history. The man claims that the year 3000 is a golden age, and yet he comes with a warning for all mankind. What is that warning? Well, you'll just have to get card number 11 to find out. Yeah, I bet that cliffhanger sold more than a couple of card packs. What is the warning from the future? Don't invest in Enron? Protect John Connor? Well, card number 11, Man from Tomorrow, tells us that the warning is that we have to look out for atomic war. No, really. What a rip. This is the time travel version of Be Sure to Drink More Ovaltine. But props to Len Brown for avoiding falling into a legal pitfall here. People write Man from Tomorrow for the same reason people write Steelman and Superbman. The Man from Tomorrow is based on the character Gwilm Griffiths from the episode The Sixth Finger. And he too is an evolved man from the future, but not in the same way. No, Gwilm isn't some sort of weird future name, it's just modern Welsh. Gwilm is just a simple miner in a Welsh mining town, but scientific experiments rocket him up the evolutionary ladder to the tune of 20,000 years. Yes, it is sort of like the Super Mario Brothers movie, the old one with the dinosaur people. Gwilm evolves into Super Gwilm. Then he evolves into Super Gwilm 2, and finally he achieves his ultimate form, Super Gwilm 3. And to think he did this all without training. Each of Gwilm's forms increases his intelligence and grows a sixth finger on his hands until it fully develops as a movable appendage, hence the title of the episode. Think of it like Cell's tail in reverse, where instead of becoming vestigial, it fully develops in the perfected form. And finally, he achieves his ultimate form, Super Gwilm 3. And to think he did this all without training. Each of Gwilm's forms increases his intelligence and grows a sixth finger on his hands until it fully develops as a movable appendage, hence the title of the episode. Think of it like Cell's tail in reverse, where instead of becoming vestigial, it fully develops in the perfected form. With Gwilm's newfound intelligence comes psychic powers and a disconnect from humanity. Because Gwilm was bullied when he was just a simple miner, He plans to go full Tetsuo on the little mining town, but at the last moment, he stops himself. He realizes that he has evolved beyond such petty concepts as violence and revenge. It's sort of like when Lex Luthor had an epiphany after acquiring Superman's powers in All-Star Superman. Cards number 12 through 14. The Monster from Venus. Card number 12, Monster from Venus, reveals that a criminal Venusian has landed on Earth to evade his captors. There's just one problem. Venus is naturally much hotter than Earth, and the colder temperatures are starting to kill him. Card number 13, Horror in the Woods, reveals that the Venusian criminal enters a woods, which seems very ill-advised if he wants the sun to warm him. It's also said that he's a condemned criminal on Venus, so he can't go back home. He's got to make it work out on Earth. Card number 14 reveals the end of the Monster from Venus. After hunting for food with his cool boomerang, he takes refuge in a house, which he hopes will be warmer than the outside. It's a fair thing to guess. A domicile would be insulated compared with the outdoors. But whoops! The homeowners left the AC on and the Venusian freezes to death. I guess they'll have to put him next to the jellyman now. Let's hope he was some kind of Venusian serial killer. That way the story has a happy ending, because if he was just like some sort of peaceful political dissident sentenced to death, then this story was such a bummer. The Monster from Venus is derived from a nameless alien warrior from the Calco Galaxy, featured in the episode Fun and Games. In Fun and Games, a washed-up boxer and his love interest are forced by bored aliens to have a death battle with a couple from Calco. It's sort of like Star Trek's The Arena, but not as good. But I do have to say, I think the creepy smoking alien would make a much better death battle host than Wiz and Boomstick. The Calco couple quickly become a single Calco as the male kills his mate, so he can eat her under the logic that if he can't kill the Earthlings, he can outlast them. The Calco has all the advantages. He's wilder, tougher, at home in the forests, and he's got a cool space boomerang. He's sort of like the Predator, just not as good. But he made one critical mistake. Women are better at making food than being food, and also apparently pretty good with space boomerangs. Who knew? Card number 15, the brainless glob. Did I say the Monster from Venus might have been a bummer story? Oh no, this story is the big bummer of the set. A poor glob monster gets left behind on Earth by his alien owners. Glob monsters live off love and affection, but though the glob reached out to humans, they rejected him and fled in terror, leaving the globe to die of a broken heart. For while the glob was brainless, the glob was not heartless. The end. Good Lord. It's like if Harlan Ellison wrote a boy and his blob. Would you believe the brainless glob was derived from a being of pure evil? In the episode Don't Open Till Doomsday, an evil creature trapped inside a box abducts people into the timeless pocket universe inside his prison in the hopes of convincing them to go out into the world and recover the fragments of his being so that, once whole again, he can use his evil power to destroy the Earth and then the entire universe. But I can see why Len Brown looked at the production art of such an evil creature and decided to make him an adorable blob pet. He's kind of cute when you don't know about the genocidal tendencies. It's the big eyes. Big eye. Cards. Number 16 through 17. The Man with Supersight. Card number 16, Man with Supersight, reveals that an alien from a planet where everyone has X-ray eyes has come to Earth to help out the police, which makes him sort of like a Legion of Superheroes member. I wonder, would they call him Eyeball Lad, Sight Boy, Vision Kid? Card number 17, Not of This World, reveals that the poor alien burned out working as a super cop and quit back to his home planet. He saw too much, poor guy. He probably took an accidental glimpse into the White House, and what he saw shattered his faith in mankind. But I suppose he should count himself lucky the feds didn't shoot him dead the minute he said he could see through walls. The Man from Supersight is derived from Reese Fowler, the man who became the titular mutant in the episode The Mutant. Reese is a human colonist mutated by alien rain with giant fried egg eyeballs. Reese's mutation makes him superhuman. He gains the ability to read
I
thoughts.
can read your thoughts, Champ. You all should know that by now. No one can quiet his thoughts. It's impossible.
As well as the power to kill with a touch, seemingly by infusing the target with an incredible amount of energy. But as a drawback, his giant eyes need a constant source of light, or else they cause him great pain.
Do you think you'll be able to tell? Oh, no! The target hurts.
Feeling that his fellow colonists left him out in the rain to die, and learning that he can't go on the shuttle with them back to Earth because close proximity with him is hazardous, Reese suffers a mental breakdown and uses his powers to force the colonists to stay while sending messages back to Earth that everything is fine and normal. Reese is a tragic monster. At times, his pain bubbles up to the surface, and we see that he is a man driven first and foremost by the desire to not be alone.
Still a man. A man with a mind. A name. A man they call Fowler. Reese Fowler. I must remember that. I must keep saying it. To myself. To everyone.
But other times, he lashes out in terrible, bitter rage at those he would otherwise seek comfort from.
Now destroy it. No, not that way. Eat it. Eat it.
Props to Len Brown. The cards might look a little goofy when put side to side like this, but the dramatically different expressions and the little super cop story arc does reference a key element of the Reese Fowler character, that he is at once both sympathetic and despicable, both man and mutant. Cards number 18 through 22, The Sea Beasts. Card number 18, Invasion of the Sea Beast, begins the saga of the Sea Beasts. I'm not sure why it's called Invasion of the Sea Beast when the story describes several and the picture shows two, but oh well. A radio SOS goes out from a small Pacific island. Giant lizards are rising out of the sea. Sea Godzilla, sea beast from 20,000 fathoms, etc., etc. Card number 19, The Sea Beast Strikes, has a US plane discover the sea beasts. Card number 20, Fury of the Sea Beast, reveals that the US decided to nuke the island of the sea beasts out of existence. Good Lord, overreaction much? At least make an attempt at studying them first. I've only seen like 2 sea beasts. I'm sure that qualifies them for the endangered species list. Card number 21, Prize Catch, reveals that sometime after the sea beasts got nuked, fishermen dredged up the corpse of one of them, shedding light on the origins of the sea beasts, origins which are detailed on the next card. Card number 22, The Captive Beast, concludes the saga of the sea beasts. They were hatched from prehistoric dinosaur eggs. The sea beasts are derived from the evolution-locked lungfish depicted in the episode Tourist Attraction. Think the creature from the Black Lagoon, but not bipedal and not as well choreographed. Think TV budget creature from the Black Lagoon. There's less swimming in Tourist Attraction and more floundering. 3 of the cards in the Sea Beasts set depict events from the episode. Prize Catch is taken from the scene where the scientist of the episode, there usually is a scientist somewhere in these episodes, hauls up a dead lungfish. The Captive Beast is taken from the scene where the dead lungfish is displayed shortly before it revives due to a bumbling assistant messing with the thermostat. It turns out that some dinosaurs are just as hard to kill as their time capsule egg. And finally, the first card, Invasion of the Sea Beast, actually comes from the end of the episode, where the revived lungfish uses ultrasonic howls to summon his family to free him. Card number 23, The Human Insects. Maybe the man from Planet X was onto something in his myopic interest in ant life. because this card reveals that ants have a lot of potential. A scientist with way too much time on his hands creates ants with human faces and huge IQ quotients after dosing them with radiation. I bet the poor guy was just trying to create a glowing ant farm to display in his living room. The ants have an IQ, twice that of humans, meaning a 140 IQ even if we take a man with mental retardation as our human baseline, so these ants are super geniuses, though they certainly don't go out like super geniuses. The ants plot to destroy humanity by eating all the food, but the scientist kills them all by setting them on fire. I can't help but think that a bunch of ants with 140 IQs could have come up with a better plan. What are they going to do with civilization when mankind's gone? You'd think they'd want a few slaves left around to open doors for them. The human insects are derived from the titular insect creatures of the episode The Xanti Misfits. The story of the Xanti Misfits is that the leaders of the planet Xanti have dropped off a prison ship in the middle of the southwest US. Okay, kind of rude, but the Xanti promised to share space technology with humanity in exchange for housing the space version of Arkham Asylum. But there's also a cane to come with this carrot.
Do not betray us. Our privacy must be maintained. Total destruction to anyone who invades it.
Naturally, things go pear-shaped, and the Misfits' privacy is violated by desperate criminals on the run from the law. It ends in a big bug brawl that presages both Aliens and various little minion movies like Gremlins, Critters, etc., etc. Mankind fears the Xanti will retaliate for them doing to the colony what Batman should have done to Arkham years ago. But wouldn't you know it, this was part of the Xanti plan the whole time. The penal colony was a death row colony, and they sent them to Earth believing that humans are the ultimate executioners. Okay, crazy bug people, whatever you say. I'm sure that plan sounded better when it was just in your tennis ball-sized brains. Cards, number 24 through 29, Mercurian Invasion. As we reach the halfway point of the set, Len Brown more or less sneaks in an abridged version of Mars Attacks, but this time the aliens aren't Martians, they're Mercurians. The Martians of this card-based universe will come later. Card number 24, Invade Earth, starts the story. The Mercurians agree amongst themselves to invade Earth because their super-hot planet is a resource-starved hellhole. I can't help but sympathize. The poor Mercurians had to go eons with a water world taunting them in the night sky. When their astronomers looked at Earth through their telescopes, they probably thought they found heaven. I'll have to remember that as a story idea. I'm not sure how that would work when my stories are about Victorian ghost hunters, but I'll find a way to make it work, believe me. Card number 25, Thing from Mercury, reveals that Mercurian scouts have taken the measure of Earth and found us wanting. They radio Mercury and tell them that they will defeat the Earth creatures with ease. Oh dear, I sure hope they're talking about the deer and antelope and not anything upright. Card number 26, the Death Ray, reveals that the Mercurians invade Earth and clean house with solar-powered energy beams mightier than atomic bombs. But plucky humanity holds out and refuses to surrender. That doesn't sound right. In a realistic alien invasion scenario, all the world's governments would trip over themselves in the scramble to team up with the aliens against everyone else. Card number 27, the Doom Machine, reveals that Earth has managed to drag the war out into its second month. The Mercurians, frustrated by their war turning into Space Vietnam, create a doomsday machine that'll weaken the atmosphere to the point humans can't breathe it, but Mercurians, due to evolving on a hell world, can. That feels very counterproductive considering this whole war started with the Mercurians coveting Earth's resources. Card number 28, Twin Space Terrors, reveals that the Earth is on the verge of surrender, but a miracle presents itself in the form of two captive Mercurian soldiers, and these guys look real different, even by the standards of the bubblehead from the last card. They got claw hands. You know, this is probably what Baraka would have looked like if Mortal Kombat was made in the 60s. The captive soldiers spill the beans on the Mercurian's weakness, and it's revealed in the next card. Card number 29, Night of Terror, ends the Mercurian storyline. The secret weakness of the Mercurians is in their super-sensitive hearing. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Hey, this must be where Robert Kirkman got the Viltrumite weakness from. But no, you know what really borrowed this weakness? The 1996 Mars Attacks film. Yeah, the Martians didn't get wrecked by high-pitched sounds in the original card series, but the Mercurians did. They took what Len Brown wrote here and attached it to the adaptation of his most famous work. Pretty neat. The Mercurian set is unique among all the monsters from Outer Limits cards in that it's derived from not one, but two episodes. 24 through 26 are from the episode The Chameleon. In that episode, first contact between mankind and a saucer full of aliens goes wrong. Doesn't it usually? The feds bring their top agent, a man known only as Mace, out of retirement to undergo experimental gene surgery to become an alien and infiltrate the saucer. I like to think Chameleon is in the same universe as the Architects of Fear, and that what the scientists in that episode used to turn Robert Culp into a fake alien was first used by the feds here. The rest of the cards are from the episode Keeper of the Purple Twilight, a story about invaders from a distant galaxy who, of course, come to Earth. Their society is based on rigid castes. A man is either a scientist, seen on the left, or a soldier, seen on the right. A woman is a loveless breeder, and nothing more. But Icar, a scientist, borrows the emotions of a human scientist as part of an experiment and finds himself falling in love with the human's wife. You know, it's rather appropriate that Len Brown combined Chameleon and Keeper to make his Mercurian invasion story. Chameleon is about a man who becomes more like an alien, and Keeper about an alien who becomes more like a man. Cards number 30, 32, The Mind Stealer. Card number 30, The Invader, begins the saga of the Mind Stealer. A mad scientist exiled from a distant galaxy lands on Earth to carry out experiments on humanity. Now, what kind of exile is that? Did they just give him a spaceship and tell him bon voyage? That's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to exile them to a distant star or put them in the Phantom Zone. Such irresponsible aliens. I can see why Len Brown didn't list their galaxy. I bet they've aggrieved quite a lot of beings around the universe. Card number 31, The Mind Stealer, reveals that the exiled alien has invented a device that not only reads thoughts, but stores them, and he decides that the nearby heavily guarded building must have some super geniuses inside it, because he breaks into it and walks the halls, stealing ambient thoughts. Now, brace for the plot twist. Card number 32, You Are in My Power, ends the story of the Mind Stealer. The alien scientist returns to his lab to unbox his stolen thoughts, but wouldn't you know it, the place he raided was an insane asylum, and all the thoughts he gathered are as garbled and incomprehensible as a Joe Biden speech. The alien scientist then gives up completely and leaves the Earth. It's like Magneto and the wooden gun. His spirit is broken. He doesn't even conceive of trying another building. He just wants to leave. Defeat through embarrassment. That's a pretty novel way to take out a sci-fi monster. The Mind Stealer is derived from the episode Second Chance, in which an Empyrean, an alien which has evolved from birds just as man evolved from apes, telepathically identifies several humans with the deep-seated desire to escape and abducts them, not to experiment on them or frighten them, but to give them a second chance, a chance to live a peaceful, meaningful life. You see, a planetoid is about to hit Empiria, and that'll cause Empiria to sling into Earth like a pool shot. But the atmosphere of this planet is harmful to Empyreans, so they're going to set these humans up as colonists who can divert the planetoid, become the heroes of two worlds, and start over far away from Earth. It's a weird sort of gift, to be sure, but you know, we shouldn't judge alien logic by the standards of human logic. Cards number 33 and 34, The Iceman. Card number 33, the incredible Iceman, reveals that a remote village is missing one of their own and fear that the Iceman, a mysterious being with a freezing touch, might have gotten him. The incredible Iceman. I bet that's the title of a Marvel book in another timeline where Bobby Drake got popular before the Hulk. Card number 34, Frozen Terror, finishes the story by showing us the Iceman's poor victim, iced over and looking like a live-action remake version of Cold Miser from The Year Without a Santa Claus. Sad ending, but cool ending nonetheless. Get it? Cool ending? Okay, and now we come to the oddest explanation of what television monsters the card monsters are derived from. Would you believe that the Iceman and his victim both don't exist, but in different ways? Sounds confusing, doesn't it? I hope it also sounds interesting. Let me explain. The Iceman's victim is from the episode The Human Factor, where it's not a real monster, but a guilt-born delusion suffered by one Major Brothers. Major Brothers once got a man under his command killed, and so he's haunted, purely in his mind, by the man's icy spectre. But where does the incredible Iceman come from? It turns out he was never on the outer limits. During production, he was the suit that was going to be used for the ghost delusion, but they changed it before filming, likely because, while incredibly cool, they wanted something that looked more like the dead human it was supposed to represent. But the Outer Limits monster that never was, affectionately known as Chill Charlie by fans, has carried on through spin-off media. Not only was he in Monsters from the Outer Limits, but he was on the cover of the packs and boxes. Chill Charlie was the Pikachu of the card set, a fact that no doubt confused many kids who wondered why the poster boy for the Outer Limits wasn't actually on the Outer Limits. Cards, number 35 through 40, Martian Interrogators. The story of the Martian Interrogators begins in card 35, plotting destruction. The supreme leader of the Martians hears that his soldiers have captured a human astronaut, and he wants to interrogate the captive human to learn how to build spaceships so that Mars can invade the Earth. It's apparent that these Martians aren't as technologically advanced as the ones from Len Brown's Mars attacks. Card number 36, Bring in the Earthman, continues the story, and the card is mistitled. There's only one astronaut in this story, and he's brought before the Supreme Leader, who reveals that Mars wants to invade the Earth because Mars is a dying planet, and they want to steal Earth's resources. Isn't that always the case? Mars was resource-starved in War of Worlds, a princess of Mars, and sex-starved in Devil Woman from Mars. Point is, Mars is the Japan of the solar system, militaristic, resource-starved, and very, very kinky. Card number 37, You Can't Stop Me, is my favorite card in the entire set. Not much happens in the story. The astronaut just endures the first round of torture, but just look at it. There's real reaction image potential here, I feel. Card number 38, The Brain Destroyer, is my second favorite card in the entire set. It's the one that best captures Len Brown's characteristic irreverence. The Martians aren't having much luck torturing secrets out of the astronaut, so they pretend a Martian telephone is a mind destroyer and threaten the astronaut with it, but no dice. The astronaut is ride or die for humanity. Card number 39, Martian Torture, has the Martians utilize electric rods in their torture of the astronaut, with no greater results than their previous attempts. I know the poor astronaut isn't exactly having a good time on Mars, but he should be glad he got picked up by Martians instead of Greys. Greys tend to use their electric rods differently than other species, if you know what I mean. Card number 40, The Touch of Death, reveals that the Martians, after giving up on prying secrets out of the astronaut, go ahead and execute him. You'd think they would have gone with something more baroque than a death touch. The Mars attacks Martians executed humans by tying them to the ends of cannons. But there's a happy ending. It's revealed that eventually mankind comes for their boy and conquers all of Mars. Come to think of it, that was how Mars attacks ended as well. The Martians are derived from the Ebonites, from the episode Nightmare, Harlan Ellison's personal favorite of all the Outer Limits episodes. The story is that Earth has been bombed by the planet Ebon, and man has taken to the stars to fight back. A ship of soldiers, on its way to the front lines, is captured, and the soldiers are taken to a place that looks like it came out of a German expressionist film for interrogation by the Ebonites.
In your own earthly phrase, you are prisoners of war. You will cooperate in all ways.
But things are not so simple. The soldiers are tortured, mentally and physically, with devices that steal the senses and devices that project illusions ripped from their memories. Worse still, the soldiers begin to turn on each other and accuse each other of collaborating with the Ebonites. And it leads to perhaps the greatest twist ending in the entire series. The entire thing is a war game.
We are not at war here. The grief and loss we caused your planet was an accident. We promised we would do anything to rectify this unforgivable mistake, but we cannot sanction the continuation of such immoral and inhuman experimentation.
The Ebonites did bomb Earth, but accidentally, and to square things with Earth, they've agreed to pretend to be alien interrogators in a war game so that mankind can prepare for an actual interstellar war. It goes to show you that another name for soldier is canary, as in canary in the coal mines. Cards number 41 through 44, Stone Men. Card number 41, Fearful Foe, kicks off the story of the Stone Men. An American geologist and his wife are looking for Incan treasure down in a Mexican mountain range when, rock lords. In card number 42, Captive Scientist, the Stone Men reveal to the scientist and his wife that they're an ancient subterranean race. So basically Darrow, if you're familiar with the Shaver mysteries. They also reveal that the scientist is now their prisoner, because come on, if an alien scientist fell into your lap, wouldn't you interrogate him for super technology? No? Just me? Man, I really want to know how to build a flying saucer. Card number 43, Living Nightmare, reveals that the Stone Men are planning on invading the surface, because of course they are. What race of Morlocks doesn't make designs on the surface world and all that fresh, free oxygen? It's a cliché so old it dates back to Vril, The Power of the Coming Race in 1871. Card number 44, The Subterraneans, wraps up the Stone Men story. The scientist's distraction failed, and he's forced to lead the Stone Men to the surface. But all's well that ends well, as the Stone Men are blinded like a vault dweller when they see the sun for the first time and stumble off a cliff to their doom. Wait, all of them? There were none like in the back of the group? They all fell off the cliff and died like lemmings? Good Lord. I don't think these geniuses could have taken over the Earth, even if they emerged during the night. The Stone Men are derived from the luminoids from the episode A Feasibility Study. The luminoids teleport an entire town to their planet Luminos to test the feasibility of humans as slave labor. You see, the luminoid race are infected by a parasite that gradually calcifies their bodies as they age. When they reach adulthood, they're effectively sessile and spend all day hanging out in energy pools, thinking much and doing nothing. The luminoid race is a metaphor both for the death of youthful potential in age and modernization. Mankind has become far more like the luminoids in the decades since the Outer Limits aired. We have become a race of atomized, calcified thinkers. We touch the world with our thoughts while feeling nothing through our rock-hard egos. Cards 45 through 50. The Clayman. Card number 45, the Clayman, reveals the origin of the Clayman, the closest thing to a Frankenstein monster in this set. The Clayman is an artificial being created by a well-meaning scientist and given a perfect body, but a fire melts his skin, turning him into a Morlock-looking dude. Did Tim Burton open up a pack of Outer Limits cards as a kid? I think he might have, because the Clayman reminds me a lot of Edward Scissorhands, except instead of the artificial man's hands getting destroyed, it's his skin. Card number 46, Clayman's Revenge, reveals that the Clayman goes on an arson spree to vent his rage at his pitiful existence. Well, he just burned through all his sympathetic monster credit. He's not the universal Frankenstein monster, he's the Shelley Frankenstein monster. Card number 47, the Clayman's next victim, reveals that the Clayman, apparently having grown tired of being a firebug, goes to his creator's home in the hopes of asking for repairs. The scientist's housekeeper lets him in, but she makes a comment about his face, so he goes ballistic and starts strangling her. Yep, all sympathies for the Clayman are completely gone. She didn't even scream on sight when she saw him. She was good enough to let him into her house, and he tries to kill her just for saying, "Oh my God, what's wrong with your face?" Fortunately for the housekeeper, the Clayman leaves before he can finish the job. Does that bit of mercy score the Clayman some sympathy points? Let's say he has a half point now. Card number 48, Uninvited Guest, reveals that the Clayman scares off some picnickers and eats their lunch like Quasimodo meets Yogi Bear. But while eating out in the open, 2 policemen come by and take him into custody. His creator should have made him out of jelly instead of clay. If he was the Jellyman, he would have been able to fight off the cops and the National Guard and everyone, generally speaking. Card number 49, The Escape, reveals that the Clayman breaks out of prison. Somehow, Len Brown doesn't really elaborate on how he escapes. My no-prize answer is that he pretended to be dead and shut off some of the noisy gears inside his body to make it seem like he didn't have a heartbeat. Trent did that in Demon with a glass hand, and I'm not making a giant Outer Limits video without mentioning Demon with a glass hand. It's one of my top 5 favorites. With card number 50, the end of the Clayman is revealed. Running back to his creator's lab, he hides in wait for his return, but knocks over a Bunsen beaker and sets the lab on fire. The Clayman perishes in the flames. I can't say I'm going to miss him. Live by fire, die by fire. The Clayman is derived from the character Andro from the episode The Man Who Was Never Born, and Andro was indeed the man who was never born. But not at first. He was born at the start of the episode. He became unborn later on. Yeah, it's a time travel episode. You see, an astronaut goes through a space warp and finds himself in the year 2148 AD, where mankind has been wiped out by disease inadvertently created by a scientist named Bertram Cabot, Jr. Oh, and in case you were wondering, this episode did the astronaut flies through a space warp and ends up in the future thing before Planet of the Apes. The astronaut and Andro fly back through the space warp and arrive back in the present, hoping to warn mankind about the coming super plague. But the astronaut dies on the trip back, leaving Andro alone. Andro uses hypnosis to appear to people as normal human Andrew, and at first he plots to terminate the future by killing Bertram Cabot Sr. on his wedding day to prevent Bertram Cabot Jr. from ever being born, but he gradually falls in love with Bertram Cabot Sr.'s betrothed and absconds with her to the future. Damn, imagine if this was how Terminator played out. Instead of killing Sarah Connor, the Terminator just cucks Kyle Reese. But on the ride back to the future, Andro vanishes, because without the circumstances of the super plague, his parents never met, and he was never born. His bride is left to confront the unknown future alone. Moral of the story, don't abscond with hypnotic monster men on your wedding day. And so, we come to the end, the limits of the Outer Limits. Here ends the weirdest trading card set of all time. May its weirdness be talked about forever and ever. End transmission.